The USS Gerald R. Ford is often described as the most expensive warship ever built, carrying a price tag of nearly $13 billion. Its massive size, advanced technology, and global presence naturally attract attention and criticism. In an era where hypersonic missiles dominate headlines, many people ask a simple but unsettling question. Can such a large, invisible ship survive against weapons that travel faster than the speed of sound? This question is not rooted in fear but in curiosity about how modern naval engineering has adapted to new threats. Hypersonic missiles represent a real technological challenge, yet they do not exist in isolation. Neither does the USS Gerald R. Ford. Understanding whether these missiles can truly sink a modern aircraft carrier requires looking beyond dramatic claims and focusing on systems, design philosophy, and operational reality. This analysis does not aim to glorify conflict or exaggerate danger. Instead, it seeks to examine the technical and strategic context behind the headline and what it actually means in practice. The USS Gerald R. Ford represents a fundamental shift in how aircraft carriers are designed and operated. Rather than being an upgraded version of older carriers, it was built from the ground up to support future technologies and changing mission demands. One of its most defining differences is power generation. Its advanced nuclear reactors produce significantly more electrical power than previous carriers, not for comfort, but to support emerging systems such as advanced sensors, electronic warfare, and future defensive technologies. The ship also introduces electromagnetic aircraft launch systems, replacing steam catapults used for decades. This allows aircraft to be launched more smoothly, more frequently, and with less structural stress. Combined with redesigned weapons elevators and a more efficient flight deck layout, the carrier can generate more sorties in less time. Equally important is its digital backbone. Automated systems reduce crew workload while improving reliability and reaction speed. The USS Gerald R. Ford is not just a ship. It is a floating, adaptable platform built to evolve alongside modern threats rather than be overtaken by them. Hypersonic missiles are often described as carrier killers, but that label oversimplifies a very complex technology. These weapons travel at speeds greater than Mach 5 and can maneuver during flight, making them harder to track than traditional ballistic or cruise missiles. Their speed reduces reaction time and challenges existing interception systems, which is why they generate so much concern in naval discussions. However, speed alone does not guarantee effectiveness. Hypersonic missiles still rely on a long chain of steps: detection, targeting, guidance updates, and terminal accuracy. Finding a moving aircraft carrier in the open ocean is not trivial. The carrier does not stay still, and targeting data can become outdated within minutes. Additionally, hypersonic weapons are expensive, limited in number, and technically demanding to operate. They are strategic assets, not simple fire-and-forget solutions. Understanding their real capabilities and their limitations is essential before assuming they can easily neutralize the world's most advanced naval platform. The USS Gerald R. Ford is never meant to operate alone, and this is where many hypersonic missile arguments fall apart. A supercarrier is the core of a carrier strike group, a moving, layered defense network designed specifically to counter advanced threats. Long before any missile approaches the carrier itself, it must penetrate multiple defensive rings spread across hundreds of miles. At the outer layer, destroyers and cruisers equipped with advanced radar and missile defense systems provide early detection and long-range interception. These ships are designed to track fast-moving threats and coordinate responses in real time. Beneath the surface, attack submarines silently patrol, eliminating launch platforms before missiles are ever fired. Closer in, electronic warfare systems attempt to confuse, jam, or mislead incoming weapons. Only after passing all these layers would a threat face the carrier's own close-in defensive systems. This multi-layered design transforms the carrier from a single target into a heavily protected, constantly moving system that is extremely difficult to overwhelm. One of the most underestimated defenses of the USS Gerald R. Ford is not a weapon system, but physics. Despite its massive size, the carrier is far from stationary. Powered by nuclear reactors, it can sustain high speeds for extended periods without refueling, allowing it to constantly change position across vast areas of the ocean. For an enemy targeting system, this creates a serious problem. Hypersonic missiles require accurate, real-time targeting data throughout their flight. The ocean offers no fixed reference points, and a carrier moving at high speed can shift its location by dozens of miles in a short time window. Any delay in detection, tracking, or data transmission increases the chance of a miss. Additionally, carriers operate with strict emissions control, limiting radar and communication signals that could reveal their location. When combined with electronic deception and decoys, this mobility turns targeting a supercarrier into a complex and uncertain challenge, rather than a simple firing solution. Hypersonic missiles represent a genuine technological challenge, but their reputation often exceeds their current operational reality. Traveling at speeds above Mach 5, these weapons are fast, complex, and difficult to intercept. However, speed alone does not guarantee effectiveness, especially against a moving and defended naval force. To strike a carrier, a hypersonic missile requires a full kill chain, long-range detection, continuous tracking, secure data transmission, and precise terminal guidance. Breaking any link in this chain causes the weapon to fail. Over the open ocean, maintaining accurate targeting data against a fast-moving carrier is far more difficult than striking fixed land targets. Additionally, hypersonic weapons are extremely expensive and limited in number. Launching them carries strategic risk and political consequences. They are not weapons used casually or in large salvos. While hypersonic missiles cannot be dismissed, they are not a guaranteed solution. Their effectiveness depends on flawless coordination, something that remains extremely difficult in real-world combat conditions. The USS Gerald R. Ford was built with the assumption that it may one day take a hit. Unlike commercial ships, its design prioritizes survivability over comfort or efficiency. This philosophy was proven during full ship shock trials, where massive underwater explosions were detonated near the hull to simulate combat damage. These tests push the ship beyond normal operational stress. The results demonstrated the carrier's ability to absorb extreme shock without catastrophic failure. Critical systems remained functional, structural integrity was preserved, and the ship returned to service after limited repairs. Internally, the vessel is divided into multiple reinforced compartments, allowing damage to be isolated and contained. Even in a worst-case scenario, sinking a carrier is not a single-hit event. It would require repeated successful strikes under combat conditions. This level of durability significantly raises the threshold required to neutralize the ship, reinforcing its role as a resilient platform rather than a fragile target. Beyond missiles and armor, the USS Gerald R. Ford exists primarily as a tool of deterrence. Its true power lies in what it prevents rather than what it destroys. A deployed supercarrier signals capability, readiness, and political resolve without a single weapon being fired. This presence forces potential adversaries to calculate risk far more carefully. Attacking a carrier is not just a military decision, it is a strategic escalation with global consequences. Any nation considering such an action must assume an immediate and overwhelming response across multiple domains. This reality alone discourages aggression and stabilizes tense regions. Carriers also provide flexibility that fixed bases cannot. They can reposition rapidly, operate independently of foreign soil, and respond to crises without lengthy preparations. In this role, the USS Gerald R. Ford is less a weapon of war and more a moving boundary line, quietly enforcing balance. As long as deterrence remains central to global security, supercarriers will continue to play a critical role. The honest answer is not a simple yes or no. Hypersonic missiles introduce new risks, but they do not suddenly make aircraft carriers obsolete. Sinking the USS Gerald R. Ford would require far more than a single, advanced weapon. It would demand flawless detection, uninterrupted tracking, precise guidance, and the ability to overcome multiple defensive layers, all while the target is moving and actively defending itself. No system in warfare is invulnerable, but survivability is measured by how difficult something is to destroy, not whether it can theoretically be hit. The Ford-class carrier was built with modern threats in mind, combining mobility, layered defense, resilience, and strategic integration. Rather than being a floating coffin, the USS Gerald R. Ford represents calculated risk management at the highest level. It remains a formidable, relevant platform designed to operate in contested environments where uncertainty, not perfection, defines success. The debate over whether hypersonic missiles can sink the USS Gerald R. Ford is ultimately about how we understand modern military power. It is easy to frame the discussion as technology versus technology, missile versus ship, but real-world deterrence is far more complex. War is not decided by a single weapon system operating in isolation. It is shaped by networks, doctrine, human decision-making, and risk calculation. Focusing only on hypersonic missiles ignores the broader reality of naval strategy. Carriers are not built to be invincible. They are built to raise the cost of conflict so high that adversaries hesitate to act. That hesitation is where stability comes from. The USS Gerald R. Ford represents an evolving balance between offense and defense, not the end of naval dominance. As threats advance, so do countermeasures. The real question is not whether a carrier can be sunk, but whether doing so would ever be worth the consequences.